Hi Transition Age family, welcome, good morning, good afternoon and good evening from wherever you're watching us. It's been a while, I know it's been a while, yeah, but we are back in a blast and in power. Today, I am hosting someone on the PK edition. I told you I'll bring you greater and nicer things this PK. So come, sit, settle, and watch this young lady taking us through her journey as a PK. I told you, you know a certain side of the PKs, the ones who are spoiled, the ones who are not focused, the ones who are not moving their parents' lives. But I am here to tell you and to show you the life of a PK. So we are going to introduce our guests and she's going to take us through her story. Welcome, Percy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We are glad to have you. We are glad for you to accept in your busy schedule, to accept to come and be hosted here.
Which is so sad. Yeah.
PK is Percy is a very hardworking lady, and I have met her in ministry. I've met her working together, and so she has something very interesting to tell us.
Thank you.
So who is Percy?
That question has so many ways of answering it, but I'll just answer with my name.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Percy McLove.
Mm-hmm.
Born Paskazia Kwagala. You know, Paskazia comes from the Catholic background.
I wanted to say so.
I don't know what it means, but most people know me as Percy and call me Percy.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, that is Percy. So Percy, what was growing up like?
Not bad, and we thank God for that. Though as I've grown up, I don't know whether it's an ambitious spirit that caught up with me, but I realized not the best, because when you grow up, you get to see other people's lives, what people, the kind of childhood you can give actually to even your children that you aspire to give. Then you realize, oh, wasn't that good, but we are here now.
Okay.
Yes.
So Percy is, take us through your family background, your growing up, studies, because it's a PK edition, we are going to be more of an upbringing of a PK. Yeah.
So I am the fifth born of 7 surviving children.
Okay.
We should be 10, but we are 7, so I'll just talk about those 7. I am the fifth. I have 5 brothers and just 1 sister. Mind you, being a PK, I have so many sisters and brothers.
I know.
So if they watch this, I do not deny you to be my sisters and brothers, but I'm just saying the biological.
Yeah.
The biological plus the spiritual plus the adopted plus the raised. I cannot count. We are so many.
So you're born of which parents?
I am born of Mr. Pastor Ruavagabo Theonest Peter, and my mother, my beautiful mother, Coletta Diamukama.
Amen.
I'm born in Mubende.
Wow.
I am from Mubende.
Those names don't
in Central Uganda, Buwekula sub-county, Buwekula county, Chitenga sub-county, from a small town called Chenda. Most people will be like, that's our girl Kwagala. Yes.
Now, so you're born in Mubende, so your childhood is best there.
My childhood, I came to understand when I had the siblings that I've told you about. So the others that I said that we don't have, I think I never got to know them much because they were older than me and one that followed me. But after that, I didn't know them. I came to understand when I'm in church and my father was already a pastor. We were still living in a deeper small village.
In a simple church.
A deeper small village, simpler church, not simple.
Wow.
And I was in Sunday school. I was in church. I actually think I came to grasp that I'm in church before my father became a pastor.
Okay.
But by the time I understood, I was a preacher's kid. However, I have a little memories of here and there where we were in a church, pastored by someone else.
Oh.
Where my spiritual journey begins. But by the time I came to understand very well, I was in church and my dad was a pastor. And that was his first church.
Okay.
I am told I was born Catholic. I was born in Catholic church, baptized at 4 months, given the name that I have. And then...
So your parents were originally Catholics, and then they converted, right?
Yes, and they were Catholics, staunch Catholics.
Wow.
And my father was Msomesa. At times he even, I don't know whether they are still there, but he used to show us pictures where he was standing with,
that robe.
People who stand with those people who have robes.
Oh,
they are usually
altar boy, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know how they call them. He used to sing in the Catholic church, but by the time I understood, he was born again and a pastor, and I was told shortly after I was born and baptized, they went into Christianity. They became born again.
Oh, great.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Take us briefly through your early school days, how life was.
I began school, funny, when I first began school when I was 4 years. In the small village that I came from, there was no nursery school. I came to know nursery school actually when I was in like P5. I got to know that people actually start from
You started from P1.
I went to P1 Bichi, BA, those ones.
Yeah.
So I started school in a small village school. I thank God it's still there. Until now, it's not a registered school.
It wasn't government even.
Yes, but it was a school based on the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and it is still there, but not registered until now. In under the tree.
It was really a humble one, yeah?
Under a tree, but I loved my first school days. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
And when I had started up to second term in August, my brother Sam was born. I think at that time, I was 5. And I was taken out of school to take care of my youngest new baby brother.
I know.
So that's how I started school. But I was enjoying it, going to school from a very long distance for a kid. When I look at us nowadays, you cannot tell me to walk that distance.
Yeah,
but I used to walk it, and it was fun. And so when I dropped out to take care of my younger new baby brother.
But at 5-year-old taking care of a younger
what are you saying? My mother had to go in the garden. My siblings who were older were in serious classes.
You had to babysit.
I had to be the one. I was babysitted as well. So it was my time to baby. And being a girl, you always grow up so fast.
Yeah, true.
I tell you, at that 5 years, I used to stay with him at home alone. Nobody else at home. And they would go to the garden, yes, nearby the house, but they would go really far that I can't call and they hear. I would make the simple porridge that at 5 years that I can for this little, imagine your 5-year-old.
And when he cries, you could carry him when he cries.
I usually tell him, he's now a big boy, taller than me, has children. So he keeps saying, but I remember his first step, his smile. And so I took care of him. In my memory, that's what I remember. Though they say I didn't take long at home, but me, I remember I never went back to school. And counting by the time I went back in P1, when I came to understand that now I'm back in school, I was already 7 years.
Oh, that's close to 2 years. Okay.
So I went back, I believe, when he had grown and could stay maybe alone in the garden behind my mom.
Yeah.
So then I went to P1 again. That P1 which should be obvious what, and my journey for school started again from there when I was 7, and it never stopped.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. So take us through now. You're going to tell us where I wanted the study bit. Children of clergy, we struggle a lot. School fees is not there. So I would want us to know. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
I would like us to really tell the person out there the struggles in the life of a pastor's family and all that. Now you said you were so many in that home. These people need to know what we go through. Having to share almost everything you have with everyone around. Yeah, that's what I would want you to.
So, beginning, as I told you when I was 7, we weren't so many. As I told you, my first memories, my dad was not a pastor. However, at 7, I'm sure he was a pastor.
Already, yeah.
But I don't remember so many people, apart from relatives, my uncles and aunties who were younger than him and had not yet gotten married. And I believe by that time, everyone got married, and somehow we were now also a nuclear family, mother, father, and his children. But then, at that time, when I was going to primary 2, we shifted. God sent my dad from this small village church to a next town to start a church. And when we went there, actually, we thank God, things improved. Schools were nearer than it had been for us.
More developed.
Yeah, it was. You come from a deep village house, and you come to a center. So that really helped us.
Okay.
But when we went to that town, my dad started a church that was near us, and that's how things turned around. And us having come from village where we struggled to reach schools, there were so many of his Christians that he had left who were struggling with the same thing, their children. So everyone sent their children.
Hey, okay.
Musumba is now in town. He's near schools. Please, can my son be there, please? And then the house. Now, you talked about people thinking that finances are always good. Actually, some people these days, when you tell them I'm a PK, they think planned kid. But we are talking about pastor's kid, preacher's children.
That's a good one. Yeah.
So, as much as some of us look planned, but it wasn't at all like that. I grew up in a house which is known what people call family house. The Mizigo kind of. For him to shift from the village, he had built, those houses in the village centers that have shops on them. So we lived behind those houses, those shops. The front would be people who are renting to put their shops. Behind would be our homes. So we started filling those rooms. He gave one car room to girls, one car room to become his bedroom, one car room to become his small visitors sitting room, and one car room for boys. Now that meant whichever boy they send joins my 5 brothers. Whichever girl they send joins me and my sister. So it became, I lose count. I just meet them later in future, and I'm like, because you were once my brother.
We used to live together, yeah.
You were once my sister. So the house filled up. And you know the challenges that come with living with other people. My mother, may God bless her. She's a very soft-spoken kind of woman. Maybe now that she has grown, she has learned to speak for herself. But those days, people came in. in and out, whether her kids stayed without eating, it wasn't a matter. And she never treated us different. My mother never treated you as their child. You know, you can leave so many people, but if there is a chance for you to feel like I am my mother's, my father's child, but for us it was all the same.
You were the same.
If the food is little, you eat one banana, everyone one banana, and that is all. But I want to thank God that my father was a very hardworking farmer, besides being a pastor. So mostly among the things we suffered, food wasn't an option. One of those, but school fees. Because we were so many, I am one of those who you find speaking and you can't believe I went to UPE, mostly.
I'm shocked, by the way. It is surprising.
People who come from Chenda know our school, Senkuru Primary School.
You can hear the word.
The only primary school in the whole county. Sabu. No, parish. You know, there are parishes, they are a little smaller than the sub-county. So the whole parish has to come to that primary school. People traveled, kids traveled far and near to go to that school. And for me, I was glad. I was lucky to be from the nearby center. But I went to that school after we shifted, like I said, from primary 2, 3. And I tell you, when I finished primary 3, I was told to repeat.
Why?
In a government school. I didn't know even why I was at school. I just knew.
You were not caring to perform.
No, the classes are full of children, and I think
so
I
many.
I didn't have that confidence. I had come from that tree, remember, and ended up in a building, but full of kids. So I think they bullied me.
It affected your performance was affected.
I don't even remember any of my teachers because
you were just going there for the sake.
The teacher-student ratio was so big. They couldn't notice me who came later. At least they noticed those who began with them. So, and that is because there was a private school that was a little bit good, where they encouraged to speak English, but my father could not afford it.
Yeah, I know.
Me and all my siblings went to that government school. And my siblings and my foster siblings and my spiritual siblings, we went to that school. However, in the beginning, there were not even so many private schools in our center. But for me, at least in our time when we began school, it was there. But he couldn't afford it. I remember we had neighbors who used to go to that school, and my goodness, I would come back and I'm like, you speak English? In my little gun, I would like, that was a big deal. So when I was going to P3, they told me to repeat. I didn't care anyway. I was little. I didn't understand. I didn't understand anything. I wasn't enjoying school. The class was too filled up. So there comes a pastor also who was fellowshipping with us, and he began a private school.
Okay, at the church?
Nearby.
Okay.
And that's how I get lucky to kind of start school.
To
understand. So I went to his school. He gave me an interview and said, "You're bright." I said, "What?" Me who was told.
Me who is repeating?
I was told to repeat. He said, "You're bright. You can go to P4. I was like, "What?" And I went to that school for 2 years. P4, P5. When I was in P6, still school fees became a problem. We couldn't afford the school. Me and my brother, who had managed to go in private for 2 years, we went back to finish P7 in the Kajeno UPE school. I know now our Mzee will say, thank God for UPE, but thank God for UPE. And I remember when I was in that primary school, when I went back, now I could understand. My school fees was 7,000 shillings.
Uganda shillings?
Yes, for my P6. So the both of us, me and my brother, had to pay 14,000. And my dear,
Still dad could not
I
afford
tell you, there was a time I was sent home before that. Meanwhile, this is a man who was building the church. This is a man who was organizing conferences and crusades. This is a man who was hosting partner pastors from Kampala. They come, we cook meat.
But that money wasn't his, it was for the ministry.
No, it was his. I come from a ministry where he's the one who puts in.
May God bless you, Pastor.
And meanwhile, I grew up, everyone would call me Musumba and tell me I should give them money from Cabo, from the basket. And every time I would come home and I'm like, they need school fees. And my dad tells me he doesn't have school fees. He's going to pay for me for the next season. And what he had, I knew we had some money previous season, and he had used it for a conference, for a crusade, traveling to go and preach somewhere. I know not most pastors handle it that way, but my father, his God is first.
And you really can attest to that faithfulness.
He is still like that. When he has to pay school fees for our last born has just finished senior 4. And there is, I told you we have spiritual sisters and brothers. My father pays for my spiritual sister first before paying for my brother. I don't know how he counts that. I don't know how PKs we should understand that, but that is the kind of lifestyle. I remember when I reached high school, secondary school, my school was also near. It was a USE. It is still there, Chitenga SS, my beloved school. I love it. I had a good head teacher at the time. Someone who encouraged me to read. I read books, I read novels, I read newspapers. He would challenge me. He would like, do you know what is in the New Vision today? So he challenged me that I grew as a speaker, a reader. Just, I didn't do literature, but he encouraged me. However, in loving that school, it was nearby home. And I remember most of the times, I would be having school fees balances in the middle of the term or towards the end of the term. And it would embarrass me. My deputy head teacher used to be the one to send people for school fees. And you know what he would say? You, Musumba's daughter, pastor's daughter, you cannot fail to have school fees.
As if they have the money really, because they collect every Sunday. So they believe
I swear, even if I explained, my dad said he will give in a week. He will send me back and say, your parents have money. They are pastors.
Oh my God.
That hurts so much. One of the things that hurt me, I reached a time that at school, I would not want to identify with pastor, with born again cliques in the school, with scripture union.
Why? You hated that job, pastor, because
it was causing me more harm than good. I reached a time and that actually caused my walking away from. I didn't walk away. My dad is not we are Africans. It's not in America where you say, Dad, I no longer want to be a Christian. And they say, why, baby? you either go or you go. So I just did it quietly. I know that my heart withdrew. I stopped doing, I was in high school. I stopped doing those youth choirs. We begin from choir. I stopped doing that. But the pressure came from people always mentioning pastor's daughter, pastor's kid. It was as if they didn't see me. I have a teacher who doesn't remember my name until now. He calls me Musumba.
Can you imagine?
And that was the same one who used to send me for school fees. He would be like, he'd sing my name, but he would be like, Musumba, go and bring school fees.
Oh my God.
Anything I did. Musumba, you want to grow hair? The name keeps. Musumba, your skirt is too short. a pastor's daughter. So it was really hard. Everything became associated with that. I don't know. Right now I see it as a blessing, but at that time it
was more of a pain.
You know, when you are a young person, a teenager, you're trying to know your identity, find out who you really are, be confident in who you are once you find out. And at that time, no one wants to listen to who you are, but they are only seeing your father, your parents. I don't know. Maybe
I wanted us to talk about the expectations, the way people expect that pressure that comes from society, and you are already talking about it. So expound more on it. Tell us the expectations and how they affected you or how they built you.
Talking about expectation, it reminds me, as much as I've grown to the school side, the one that came from church could cause you to commit suicide. My goodness. I was around finishing primary school, and my sister eloped. My big sister eloped for whatever reasons. She was an idol kind of daughter. Everyone referred to her. Other parents, they always said, why don't you be like pastor's daughter so and so? I was still little, no one noticed. She was a great worshiper. She went to crusades with my dad. So she met their expectations. I don't know how, but she met them at her teenage life. And then she did something that came like a bomb to them. She eloped.
Now the younger sister.
I was still little. They waited for me. But one thing I know, that episode, I think my family has never healed from it. Because at that time, the church became empty. Members left like nothing because they told my dad. I remember being part of the meeting. They thought I was maybe young. But I remember being around when they were having a meeting in church, and they told him, we want you to step down. A man that cannot guide his home cannot guide. And even all of them knew this girl had kept a good picture before everyone. Even how I was surprised by what.
It is possible to be surprised by your own
action. The devil does a job.
Yeah.
She was as well surprised, but really they put the pressure on my father, and they said many people left the church. Actually, my hometown, my father's church was the first. But right now we have about 4 churches that started at that very time. And whenever I look at them, no, not as competitors, but they broke away because my sister.
Oh my God!
And they are the pastors that we now work with. They are my good dads. I call them my dads because really they raised me before they left. Even when they left me, I was young. I kept a cool attitude towards them. So that expectation now. My sister has become vibrant later in her days, but those days she used to be an obedient girl, one that you would really not expect to do anything out of the ordinary. Now me, I was outgoing.
You are the opposite of her.
I am the opposite.
So as a matter of fact, whatever she did was expected instead of you.
No, whatever she did was not expected of her. Now me, everyone expected that. Actually, even when I was little, they said, had it been for and I was still little, primary, and I finished my primary at 12, but people expected me to do the worst. I was so loud, I was so noisy, I was so jumpy. I played with my brothers. Now my sister is way older than me. So at the time I was growing, I had only brothers at home, being that she also left early because of such things, eloping early when she was in school. She was supposed to go to A level and then she eloped. So it became that I grew up around boys, and boys became normal people to me. My sister was raised to associate with girls. You can't stand with boys.
Yeah.
And me, I didn't see any difference between my brother
And any
Kasole and any other boy out there. So I made guy friends. And I was rebuked. The expectation of the church growing as I went into being a teenager, they put that pressure on me. And me, I was not the docile type. I gave back. I was like, what are you saying?
Am
I
not
didn't do
like
that.
Any other?
No, I didn't understand that. But I was like, they kept telling my parents, she did this. I'm like, I didn't do that. You better believe me. But it just wasn't. We reached a time, me and my dad could not see eye to eye.
Yeah.
We reached a time, God forbid, I thank God he kept me, but I reached a time where I felt like he either dies or I die.
Oh, that is
not teenage life. Me, right now, that's why I go slow teenagers.
Yeah.
Even when I know they are doing the worst and I have evidence because I was there. And as much as actually these days I do mistakes where I trust, I just stand with teenagers or youths that are really doing the wrong thing. Because me, I was accused for no reason. So the expectation was high. Now, the more they said, your children, the more we refused to be part of the church because they were against us. Their expectations being open. For us, if we came late to church,
they shouldn't have.
It became a problem, but not their children. Yet we were the same. Age mates, everything. If I missed choir practice, it became a big deal. Yet we were with their children playing out there. But now it becomes we are the one that are killing the choir, the church. Everything became about us. I don't know what happens at around that time, but for me it wasn't a beautiful time. I hated the church, but I went there nevertheless. And then the fact
that's the rule at home anyway.
The fact that we were denied so many things, and so when you're growing up, you start interacting with kids from different backgrounds, and we were the kind. I'm old, you know. We are the kind that had a cassette at home. I think it is because of the village, but I think these modernized radios could have been there. But we had a cassette, and those tapes were still there. And we only knew Betty Namaganda songs, you know, the Nalintambla gospel songs. Now, I remember there was a time those of Chameleon came up. And their songs were hitting, and we were in the center. Like, we had the music in the center, but we were not even allowed. Now, there are people who would meet us. You're a kid, you don't know. You've had a song, you dance to it, and they go. She's buying for children. And you know these things where they bring karaoke in the town, just like any other kid.
And also go and watch.
You want to watch. Moreover, you don't even have the money to enter, but you run there. The next meeting there will be on our dad, and our dad will come, give us a piece of his mind. My dad actually never beat much, like caning, especially me. He beat my brothers so many times. But I don't think he caned me much. I avoided I feared the cane, so I avoided them so much. But he would become furious. You were born again. You were children of a pastor. And when he would use that, I remember my brothers, most of them are just coming back to God. They would say, the day I leave this home, I'll see whether I'm not a pastor's kid. I'll never go back to church. I'll go to the disco. I'll take alcohol. Everything we didn't have in the home seemed like the good thing they are trying to make us avoid. So I don't know. I can't tell their part, but I just had that. You know how boys love to watch films, and coming from villages, we didn't have TV at home. People had to go to the band. Every time they would come back, my dad would cane them. Moreover, nowadays I say, like, not feelings.
Yeah, my God. That's where they may need to Yeah, so
So it was
so
that
interesting.
hard. The pressure was too much that it broke the church. It even brought so many issues between me and my parents, my mom and my dad. At some time, I only had mom on my side. She even paid my school fees for some time. My dad believed that I was
that bad?
out there bad. Actually, the whole village believed. I don't know why. And me, until today, I'm like, I was innocent, I'm innocent. But the whole village believed because of my character.
Yeah, your
Yes.
personality. Yeah, we're going to take a break. We are going to take a break. When we return, she's going to tell us more of her teenage life. Since it's transition age, we are focused more on, the transition age. She'll tell us more of probably the mistakes she made in life. She has hinted on some of them. And so please don't go away. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.